Good morning. It's Saturday, May 28th, the start of Memorial Day weekend. And the last couple of days I've been involved in watching this gun violence around the country, and I've ranted on it. And today, this morning, I heard the cry, "Don't screw with my Second Amendment rights." And the other cry was, "It's the crazies, it's the people who are mentally ill who are destroying this country." I went out and I listened to that, and then I went out and started to do some research. And what I found is that there have been many studies about the mentally ill and their relationship with guns. And it's been established many times based upon statistics going back as far as 2000 that indicate that 1 to 2% of the fatal shootings in this country via guns are caused because of mental illness. Now, in several cases, we don't know for certain that the person was mentally ill because either they killed themselves or they got themselves killed during their attacks. But nevertheless, mental illness is a phony excuse for the gun violence in this country. It is not the mentally ill. It is those who are upset about some form of life or have been listening to the social media rants and have gotten excited and decided to do something about it. And I think that much of the crimes and the mass killings are based upon bigotry and hatred. And so I don't buy this thing about screaming mentally ill, because it's not the mentally ill. Mentally ill people can't even focus on a lot of things. You think that somebody who is suffering from some form of mental illness has time to worry about going and getting a gun? No, it's not those people. It's your average, everyday American who has got something has set them off. But it's not the mental illness that's causing the great problems in this country. It's the mere fact that there are more guns in this country than there are people. And that's a major, major problem. And when people go about yelling about defending their Second Amendment rights, when they don't even understand what the Second Amendment really said, as I've said many times before, well-regulated militia. Well, we don't have any well-regulated militias in this country. Ever since we formed our armed services, the militias basically don't really exist except for some states and some phantom groups, perhaps. The data on mass shootings can be very confusing, because right now the things that I was looking at considered anybody who was killed, more than 4 people, 4 or more, that was a mass shooting. But different types of mass shootings occur. For instance, a family member who's very upset with other members of the family goes out and shoots his mother and father and his brother or an uncle or something like that. That's a mass shooting. But that's not really a mass shooting in the sense that the perpetrator went out and found a group of people to kill. Like the shootings in schools, that's a whole other kind of mass shooting. And then who is to determine exactly why this mass shooting went on a rampage anyhow? And the interesting thing about mass shootings is the perpetrators are mostly men. In fact, almost 100% of them are men. So women are almost excluded from being involved in a mass shooting as a shooter or a partner to a shooter. So there's a lot of misleading information floating around out there in the news spheres. While mass shootings appear to be occurring more often these days, there's not a lot of data that has been gathered about these people who have perpetrated shootings so that we could definitively define what makes up a mass shooting. The human is a very complicated beast, and the mental acuity of the humans is very complicated also. So many people with the same symptoms and the same problems do not necessarily become a shooter or even a danger to themselves. Many of them just withdraw into themselves and there's another major factor that it goes into this equation, and that's substance abuse. We have many substance abusers, and that may tip the balance in many cases to being okay or a danger to society. So there are factors that have not been established yet, and it's too early in the game, so to speak, to quantify what makes up a mass shooter. But the blame of the mentally ill is a charade. It's a cover-up. It makes everybody feel fine and wonderful. I'm a sane person, therefore I can carry a gun. I'm safe. And people believe that. People are worried. And the background checks, they're crazy about background checks. So you get a background check and you pass beautifully, and then you start using drugs and the whole balance tips. So what good are back checks? Yes, you shouldn't get a gun. Maybe we shouldn't have background checks and we shouldn't have guns. Maybe that would be a solution. How about that? And certainly, once again, I will say you got to remove the AR-15s and those high-volume clips and everything from society. So we're society and we love our guns. We have to live with that, but we have to learn how to live with that. And we have to censure and control the amount of guns that people have. If a person has a gun, that's enough. Should a person have 10 guns or 20 guns? And if you want to be a gun collector, you should be registered. You shouldn't be allowed to gather weapons, especially in a society that is critically unstable. I have an idea. How about if you were a gun owner, or you want to be a gun owner, you would be required to see a mental health professional every 6 months. If people are so worried about mental illness, that would be something I think they could live with. And would people who have guns want to be visiting a mental health professional every 6 months? Maybe if that was a criteria, there would be less guns sold and less guns on the street. We need to do something desperate, and that sounds to me like a very good idea. Problem is, we probably don't have enough health professionals to deal with mental health professionals. And then if I was a mental health professional, would I want to waste my time on people who want to carry a gun? I don't know, but we really need to do something to control the masses who have their guns and who are staunch believers that it's mental illness that causes these mass shootings and these school shootings and the church shootings. When we know most of those people who do that, who have done that, have a hatred. It's not a mental illness. It's a hatred of something or somebody. And it boils down to some racist ideology that is running rampant in this country. Maybe it's based upon replacement theory. I don't know. I have no real good answer. But I know that we can't go on killing people with our guns. So I leave you with that this morning. See you tomorrow.